when it's a good compliment, or it's like we are celebrating, we celebrate as family. But when I reprimand or I correct, it's like I am the boss now, and they can be different dynamics. Have you guys ever come across like those dynamics where you kind of felt like there was like a bit of discomfort, but even if it was to the betterment of the business moving forward?
You might not see things the same way all the time,
Yeah.
but then, like you said, it's always the fact that you have the same mind and goal.
Yeah.
I mean, the same goal in mind.
Mhm.
You always work towards that. So even
Yeah.
if I don't see the way that you're seeing this thing, it might get us there.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
always find a way to make things work together.
Would you guys say it's different because you guys are males as opposed to like if, for
Mm.
instance, you guys were females or you were sisters?
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
But take us through why we should invest in gold coin.
You can always sell your gold, and you get wherever you are in the world. When you sell your gold coin, you will get that spot price
Yeah.
for that day that the price of gold is at.
What is the process of purchasing a gold coin, and when do I decide to sell it?
It's a question of measuring your goals, and what it is that you when you actually want to use this advantage that you have. So that kind of ties back to what do you buy, when do you buy it, and
Yeah.
when do you sell it.
Hello, Resonate community, and welcome to the best and the biggest sales and entrepreneurship podcast in the whole wide world. Now, every time we talk about starting side hustles or businesses, right, we're always thinking start a creative agency, start posting that content, start a chisanyama, open a store, whatever the case is. But the gentleman I have today have started a business I, number one, find interesting. And number two, I'm asking myself why. But I'm more curious to hear the journey behind it, because it's not an average business that everybody starts. It's not actually one of those businesses we think of starting every time we're thinking about either making more money or venturing into businesses. And today we're going to hear their story. We're going to hear around why they started, how they started, and we're going to get right into it. Please introduce yourself, because I remember one name.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's Nkhalimeng.
So
That's that's you. Okay.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself. You guys are the founders of SA Gold Markets.
Yeah.
Cool.
So my name, should I face the camera or you?
You can
Anyway,
face me, yeah.
cool. So my name is Nkhumeleng
Mhm.
Ramatsui.
Mhm.
I am the CEO and founder of SA Gold Markets. We are a gold trading platform dealing with Krugerrands, silver coins, and gold bars, so numismatic products.
Okay.
So
Interesting. Gold coins.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get into that conversation. Yes.
and I'm Matume Ramatsui,
Mhm.
younger brother.
Yeah.
So I'm also working at SA Gold Markets.
Okay.
Sure, we'll get a bit more into it.
Yeah. Oh, so this is a family business. Okay, that's interesting. Cool stuff. So SA Gold Markets. I was invited to the launch that you guys have with you had with my husband, and I was quite intrigued because I thought to myself, first of all, why gold? You're very young people from what I can see. You could have easily started anything, part of the other businesses that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Why was the gold coins business a venture that you guys wanted to get into?
okay. I think it's a bit of a broad picture.
Yeah.
I would like to think that in every business that we get into, we're always trying to focus on niche markets and things that are not necessarily, out there in that sense.
Mhm.
So we were also just looking at, how do we get into the space of investing and, educating people about one of our country's most precious minerals. And, we've been producing Krugerrands in this country for many, many years. And, I think that people, the general public, people should be aware of what they can actually have access to
Mm.
within our own, country. And it's part of the reason that we started this. So we wanted to focus on a different type of investment option,
Yeah.
and, to give people access to this and the information, and to, be aware of what actually happens in this space.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Matume, as a numbers guy, was this like a viable business to get into?
Yeah, so actually, part of it is the fact that we got into it looking at investment education
Okay.
just for younger people, I'd say, but I
Mhm.
guess it applies to people in general.
Mm-hmm.
So something like Krugerrands, right in this country, we've produced gold coins. We might be the first people who have made coins, and Krugerrands are the most popular ones in the world. But if
Yeah.
you had to ask someone in the middle of the street, they might not know what it is. It's
Yeah.
like it's gold is an investment for other people.
Yeah.
So going into it, we wanted to just give all kinds of education about investments, but looking at gold, if you have to look at it over 54 years from 1970,
Mm-hmm.
there's been it's gone up by 6,600%.
Oh, wow.
So people would have gotten it back then for like 600 rand, and
Mm-hmm.
then now today it's at $2,600,
Yeah.
around 47,000 rands.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's something people, as soon as they know, they're gonna wish they've done it earlier, but then also wish you do it now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why.
That's so interesting, and I really further want to get into the numbers game, because what we like is really kind of to see the numbers, and I think from somebody who's putting in money is concerned. But before we get inside, we have a tradition that resonates that I'm not allowed to skip, right? Which is a fire round of questions that so that we can just get to know you guys a little bit, to know what you guys are like, etc., etc. And I'll start with the first famous question. I'll start with you, Nkalimeng. What's the first thing you look forward to every morning?
Sheesh. Um, you wake up, first thing is coffee.
Yeah,
No sugar, no milk. Get some coffee. And
just
then,
black coffee.
yeah, just to get the brain running.
Yeah.
And then, just seize the day.
Yeah, what kind of coffee do you drink?
Filtered coffee.
Okay,
Yeah, not
just
too
filtered
fussy.
black. Okay,
I just need to kickstart the engine and
yeah,
get things rolling. I can't say there's anything specific that I'm like, I look forward to
yeah,
driving, or
yeah.
just,
What
yeah.
about the Lord?
Yeah, for sure, And that is always there, but
Awesome. Yeah.
just, yeah, want to get the day going.
Okay,
So I
awesome.
look
And you,
forward
Madume?
Yeah, no, I don't. It's actually such a difficult question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With time to think about it, it's still kind of.
Yeah.
But I'd say if I have to really think about it, the thing I'm looking forward to most is what I'll be able to figure out, because there's always, I guess, a challenge of some sort, whether
Yeah.
it's related to work or anything. But then, kind of looking forward to figuring it out. and
Yeah.
getting over that solution.
Yeah. Ah, interesting.
I'm not a
Okay.
big coffee person.
At all. So you just jumpstart your day with
Just
like
go.
the power of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Okay. And this question to both of you: if you were to trade careers with somebody, whether it can be anything, anywhere, for one day, who would it be, and why would you do that with them specifically?
Okay, I'm gonna go first.
So, like for instance,
Yeah.
every time I think about this question, I'm like, I would probably trade careers with like Angelina Jolie when she was doing Lara Croft, because I'd probably like want to experience the whole martial arts, and like
Yeah.
I would just want to do that for a day, and then I come back to running Resonate.
Okay.
So it's like when you think about that for yourself, like who would you trade like
Yeah.
a day with?
My mind did go to like kind of the arts a bit. So
Yeah.
I think it would be kind of similar. I think, but I'd be interested in what like an author's day is like.
An author.
Yeah.
Wow.
It just seems like such a nice job to just write down my thoughts and then get my checks coming in. See what that's like.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. And you?
I think I would trade one with an F1 driver, like
Yes.
Lewis Hamilton or something.
Yeah.
Just to, I would like to feel that thrill of being
Yeah.
in that car. That'd be pretty cool.
Ah, that's very cool. Yeah. Now I wish I should have said that, because that
It is
sounds.
a better job.
Yeah, that's a better job to have for a day. That's like, especially with the guarantee that you're not going to crash, but you're going to come back to being yourself.
That'd be
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. So, Madume and Khalimeng. Now, I want to get into the journey behind SA Gold Markets, which is a couple of businesses and your story behind it. So, you guys finished high school, went to varsity. Take me through after varsity, what happened? Just take us through the journey to what you guys have actually built right now. I'll start with you, Madume.
I actually think it might be a bit better to start then.
'Cause yours-
I'm getting out of high school and then
Really?
the younger one. I think
Okay.
it might help. Yeah.
okay.
He has had more years of like
Yeah.
struggling
Yeah.
in business.
So cool. Done with school.
Yeah.
Walk out first day. You're trying to figure out what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I started doing was freelancing. So I'm actually a sound engineer. So yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Started doing a bit of freelance work here and there. That was cool. And then I got together with a cousin of mine, and then we started jumping into the space of IT. Obviously, with the help of with a lot of support from our mentors, and because my dad works in IT, so it was kind of easy to kind of jump into that space and explore what's actually happening. So and yeah, fell in love with it, and then we've been running, an IT company since 2015,
Okay.
dealing with all kinds of products and jumping into 4IR kind of focused
Yes.
products, and like I said, always trying to find that niche,
Mm.
instead of selling Microsoft things and that everybody does. You're
Yeah.
trying to find solutions that solve actual problems that people have, and
Yeah.
yeah, so I've been doing that. And as the years went by, it's just one business after the next. And, and yeah, I guess that's when he jumps in.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2015
Mhm.
is when they started. That's when I was just getting into university.
Okay.
I did fine art at school, at university, so that's what I thought I was gonna be going
Interesting.
down, although fully well knowing that making that a career might be a bit tough.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I just had a few years of kind of starting to do it, bit of a freelancing thing, but then also exploring the curating and gallery side of it,
Okay.
and kind of made a bit of progress in that. Like established a few galleries with some friends, and then I had some exhibitions in. There's a art market in Budapest,
Mm-hmm.
so we kind of had like an ongoing year-on-year agreement with them. So it was kind of a side thing that was going on. But then at a certain stage, I guess I realized that I'll need to get something a bit more solid. So then I kind of looked to my brothers and then found what they were doing at the time. Yeah, I was very confused because it was like automated machines and for art. I don't know anything about IT or
Yeah.
anything, but fortunately, I managed to come in and leverage some of those maybe design skills and then develop some of the strategy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Interesting. So you run the IT company for a while, and then how do we get into SA Gold Markets?
So SA Gold Markets, we, like you said, we were kind of trying to venture out into a different industry. So specifically looking at, how do you, just from a personal perspective, you're looking at your own personal investments, which we've kind of been doing for since a very young age. Just, personal investing and understanding where your money, what your money should do for you,
Mm.
you know. So just looking at it from that perspective, we figured, how do you bring, knowing that these things do exist, how do you bring them forward to the general public, and educate people and make them accessible and easier for people to actually get into that form of investment. So that came about late last year, when we started, inquiring and getting into, understanding how to set up a business like this,
Mm-hmm.
and what kind of, how do I put it, understandings you kind of have to have in place. Where do you source the stuff? How does it actually work?
Yeah.
So we, some investigation, and then after that we started going.
Started running in.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm also curious to know, I mean, I think we all know that starting a business and running one is not child's play, and it can be very stressful, and it comes with its different challenges. And I'm curious to know, how do you guys like anchor yourself? What do you guys do to kind of like keep yourself in,
Yeah.
like locked in to build and grow?
I think that, business is, it's tough. You have to always stay on the ball. You need to concentrate, understand what the next move is. So keeping up, can be a bit challenging. So you need to find things that kind of bring you back to reality and understand. And I think for me, I like having hobbies. That is one thing that kind of, distracts you from this everyday thing that you need to do.
Yeah.
When you have things that you enjoy, pick a hobby, any hobby, as long as it kind of keeps you engaged with something other than work. um, that gets me, it gives me that form of, that push to do it even more.
Yeah.
It's like, so I need to, like, let's say you go camping or something, you come back with a fresher perspective, and understand that, yeah, maybe let me not do that thing this way, let me think about it this other way.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't necessarily have like a mantra, or I just feel like it's being engaged in other things that makes me, you know feel
Oh, that's
anger.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's almost like compartmentalizing your interests
Yeah.
so that your cup is continuously filled when you're doing other things. I really like that.
I think like another thing
Mm-hmm.
that maybe it may come across as integrated, I say, into the lifestyle
Yeah.
is probably working with family. I know there's always like a people say like separate business in your
I
family
was
and
gonna
stuff.
get into that because it's a hard conversation to have, and I
Yeah.
mean, he's also your older brother. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
but
So,
it also helps. I think it's a
really,
you can extract good things out of it because I think the fact that we are brothers and so there's I work with both two of my older brothers,
oh,
so there's
okay.
actually three of us, and then I think coming from just an environment and household of seeing people in business and always trying new things, I think that combined with a family structure makes it easy to be able to run ideas by them and vice versa, and just being able to have one goal in mind because I can imagine if I had like a company with a bunch of employees, like another thing I have to think about is how do I rally everyone into
Yes.
my vision, but then the vision is much simpler when we're brothers, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and then we kind of have a similar goal in mind.
Yeah, that is so interesting. We had Austin Malema on the podcast, who's like a very well known photographer. And one of the things we spoke about was like working with loved ones. It's either like a partner or family, and how challenging and really hard that can be because, and one of the things he said something so powerful around the fact that when it's a good compliment or it's like we are celebrating, we celebrate as family. But when I reprimand or I correct, it's like I am the boss now. And they can be different dynamics. Have you guys ever come across like those dynamics where you kind of felt like there was like a bit of discomfort, but even if it was to the betterment of the business moving forward, but
I
not
don't
necessarily
reprimand, so,
agreeing?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's all part of the process.
Yeah.
It's you can't have one side without the other.
Mm-hmm.
As much as you're gonna fight with any colleague anywhere, these things are bound to happen. So I think I maybe my view is kind of weird because I always view this thing like The Godfather, the movie.
Okay.
You know, so there's a specific way that they run their business and their family, which I
Okay.
felt was something to admire, and every time I think of family business, I always think about it in that
Yeah.
weird way.
How
You
did
know,
they run it? Because I've never watched The Godfather.
okay.
Yeah.
So you have the Corleone family,
Okay.
so the mafia family, and everybody. I guess they have the head of the organization.
Yes.
And then the sons are also in the business,
Yeah.
and other cousins and so forth. So you're watching all these dynamics move around as things go by. But there's always a chain of command of how things happen,
Yeah.
and I feel like when because they respect that, that's why it works. It's a value chain that makes sense for them,
Okay.
and whatever they do as a never mind that they're doing crime or whatever, but whatever that they're doing, it's for the benefit of their own family. And I see it in the same way, in a sense that um you know as it's and also we don't have that many fights or
Yeah.
anything. You might not see things the same way all the time,
Yeah.
but then, like you said, it's always the fact that you have the same mind and goal.
Yeah.
I mean, the same goal in mind.
Mhm.
You always work towards that. So even
Yeah.
if I don't see the way that you're seeing this thing, it might get us there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we'll always find a way to make things work together.
Would you guys say it's different because you guys are males as opposed to like if, for instance, you guys were females or you were sisters?
I never
I've
thought
never-
about that.
yeah, I've
Hey?
never thought about it.
Yeah, because I think I do notice that men tend to not take things very personally, especially amongst
Okay.
each other or as friends or as siblings compared
Yeah.
to possibly women.
Mhm.
I get
I've
what
heard
you're
of
saying,
siblings
yeah.
fighting very
Yeah.
seriously, but then
Yeah.
I find it strange because I've never fought that deeply with either of my siblings because that in the same way I feel like there's always a chain
Yeah.
to always keep in mind that no matter what happens, it's still my families,
Yes.
and then fights can only go a certain way, which
Yes.
don't even happen regardless.
Yeah. I've never thought of that. That's actually interesting that because you guys work together as a family, it can become a source of anchor because the vision is the same and you essentially don't want to let your brothers down as well.
Yeah.
So you want to continuously upskill yourself to like keep it together. That is so
I
interesting.
feel like my actions every day, it's like their livelihood kind of depends on that, and
Yeah.
vice versa. Yeah, it just
Literally.
even if I don't pull out my socks now, like when we're all 60,
Yeah.
I'm still gonna have to take care of them. So it's much easier that way.
Yeah, no.
So you just want to make sure that they're set for
There you go, yeah.
retirement.
And I'm also good. I'm not a problem for them
Yeah.
either. Yeah.
That's good. I like that very much. That's really, really good. Now, getting into obviously starting in the business, I can imagine gold is not like child's play. It's not like a small little business that you just set up and then tomorrow you're running. There's so much, I would call it red tape, that's behind the scenes that you guys have to like move through for you guys to start operating.
Yeah.
Where do you guys even start? Where do you guys even get gold to start
Yeah.
selling? Like what? Just take us through all of that.
Yeah. Okay. So, interesting fact.
Mm-hmm.
There's an organization in South Africa
Mm-hmm.
that produces all our actual money. So
Okay.
they mint the coins that we use on a day, our currency, and they also mint for other countries as well.
Yeah.
Which all falls under the umbrella of the Reserve Bank. So you have SA Mint and you have banknotes. So banknotes print the paper money, and then the mint prints the coins. So these products are sourced from SA Mint. So
Okay.
they produce all the Krugerrands and also circulated coins as well. So it starts off with having to kind of getting to those agreements and registering with them as to
Yeah.
become a dealer. Like you said, it's a lengthy process with
It's
a
a
lot of
lot.
red tape,
Yeah.
and you also have to be registered with the regulatory organizations like your FIC. You know, there's a lot of stuff that you need to get through, and also not to say that the red tape is bad. You actually understand why it's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
You know, there's because it's gold.
Yes.
Anything can happen. You know, there's criminal elements around these kind of products. So when you
Yeah.
have safeguards and making sure that people trade in a responsible manner, and
Yeah.
that's all the stuff that we had to go through. But
Yeah.
in the end, we managed.
Yeah. Interesting. So when you say that they mint the gold, what is the process of like minting the gold? What does that mean? Is it like the printing? Is it like the circling it to become a coin? And I'm asking this, I mean, after I came to your guys' launch, I went to do some research and kind of had a bit of understanding. But I'd like to kind of open these questions up for our audience who might not like fully even know
Yeah.
what we are talking about and some of the terms that we might be using. What is the process of minting?
So the our mint, for instance, they
Okay.
produce the entire coin. So if you have
Okay.
a coin like this, or usually if it's like a 5 rand coin
Yeah.
or something, they'll go like the whole production stage from melting. In this case, it is just pure gold.
Okay.
But then whatever mixed metals are going to be in like a 5 rand coin or all that, they'll get that process going. And then the minting does include the design. So we do also, as the SA Mint, the SA Mint also designs for other countries. So it's like a service.
Nice.
The minting process is getting the designs in, melting all the metals together, and then kind of fitting them within the cast, I
mold.
suppose. Yeah, like a mold.
Yeah.
And then pressing it all together. And then out comes the coins we use on a daily basis, as well as these
Yeah.
Krugerrands.
There was a time years ago when like the 5 rand had a new like gold thing and people started collecting them to say that they're going to be worth much more in the future. I don't know if you guys remember that
Yeah.
whole movement at all. What was the significance behind that? Because I'm imagining it's almost like a similar, not the same, a model that you guys operate, but with more refined and like pure gold. But what was the sentiment then? Should we be keeping some coins that like come out for future use?
It's a bit of a tricky one to
Okay.
answer because usually with coins that are in circulation,
Okay.
it's never really a question of they're collectibles in that sense. They might release certain series that are limited, so they mint a certain amount of them, and then those they could carry a certain value at some point, but most of the time your 5 rand coin carries the value of a 5 rand coin.
Yes.
So yeah.
Maybe in 1,000 years.
1,000 years is a
When
long
it's like a
time.
rare thing. But
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there's so many of them, and
Yeah.
it's so normal that it'll only be valuable to someone if they really like, I want a 1996 one because I was born then, that's what I wanted.
Yeah,
Other
but
than that,
that should take a
5 rand.
long time for even that currency and those coins to phase themselves out. Okay, and then now getting into the gold coins that you guys mint. I mean, once again, this is not. I've never like before I even came to your guys' launch, I never even thought about it as like a business or as an avenue of investment. I think
Yeah.
every time we talk about financial education, we think to ourselves, we need to buy shares, we need to invest our money in stocks, we need to invest in property. Property is a big one. We need to invest in property. You know, there's a lot of these other avenues that we are advised to go. Take us through why we should invest in a gold coin. How you guys explained it during the launch was like very mind blowing for me because I never actually thought that this is something. It was a wow thing.
Yeah.
But take us through why we should invest in gold coins.
Okay. Um, so why you should invest in gold? So, um, think about it like, have you ever, when you're watching the news, right? At the end, you always see these numbers that are running at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, they're like gold,
Yeah,
platinum.
Brent crude oil,
Yes.
and whatever. And you never really think about how do these actually affect my life, or
Yeah.
do they have anything to do with anything? But then that gold price is literally it carries what it kind of regulates what the actual gold is worth around the world. And then when you look at what gold was doing this year, it went up at about 27%, which was quite unprecedented this year.
Okay.
The increase in the price is quite phenomenal. And then when you compare that to, let's say, you keep your money in a bank account,
Yeah.
where you get an interest rate of about 8%, 6%,
Yeah.
whatever. It's always a question of what do you actually want your money to actually do for you, and also the question of in what form do you keep it. So I like to think of an example of a cow. Let's say, everybody wants to get into livestock and
Yeah.
want to buy cows, and it's a
That's
great,
another investment a lot of people
yeah.
talk about.
And so you buy this cow, but you have to feed it. It has to live somewhere. You have running costs for this cow, and now when you compare it to something like this, you bought it, you have it in your house somewhere. It's stored, and it carries the value at a better rate than what your cow would probably give you, when you actually get rid of it. So it's a different investment option. And then I think when you actually dive into the space, and you come to SA Gold Markets, you realize that, yeah, the different types of options there are for gold.
Yeah.
So for first you get bullion, and then you get collectibles. So these are two different types. So meaning that bullion is is the coin that he was holding just now.
Okay.
So 100% pure gold. 99.9, let me not say 100,
99.99.
Okay.
anyway. So
Interesting.
it's a 1 ounce
It's heavy.
yeah,
Wow.
it's a 1 ounce gold coin.
Okay.
So the price that you see at the bottom of the screen for the gold is literally the value of that coin.
Yeah,
So
exactly
it's tied
that
to that.
amount.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it changes on a daily basis. It's always moving. So
Okay.
for people use it as an investment option, where you want to move a certain amount of money. We want it to carry value and beat inflation at a certain point. You put it in the gold, and then you can always sell your gold, and you get wherever you are in the world. When you sell your gold coin, you will get that spot price
Yeah.
for that day that the price of gold is at. So it's a good investment option in the sense that it's mobility and um how do you, like, let's say the ability to kind of maneuver and move around your money with ease, other than tying it in a house, or
see. Yeah.
it's easier.
I like the fact that you mentioned that when somebody invests in it, they don't have like maintenance cost to it. So you don't have to fix the pool because you bought it, or hire somebody to look after your cows because you live in the city.
Yeah.
What I'm curious to know, you mentioned that when we watch the news, there's always like the gold price. I'm curious to know is what influences the increase of the price of gold.
Yeah.
You mentioned that this year it's increased by 27%, and I'm imagining that's a brilliant thing because then that means the value has gone up. But what influences its growth and its decrease? And does that number only stick within South African markets, or is it different from like America, or is it a global market overall that has the same price? So would I be able to buy this coin and say, cool, if it's worth, let's say 13,000 Rand, if I go to America, I would still be able to, it would still be worth the same?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at that price at the bottom, that's the global spot price.
Okay.
So that's the global price for gold everywhere in the world. So um, when you, like you said, you purchase it here, you have to leave for any reason, and then you find yourself in London. The spot price, you're gonna get the value that you paid for your coin, or even if the gold has increased in
Yeah.
value, then you get that spot price that you know
Mm.
you actually, that's happening on the day.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, the maintenance and running costs of owning it
Aren't
can
they?
be are pretty low in my opinion, even if you decide to keep it in a safety deposit box or
Yeah.
whatever the options are for you. So that's the one side of gold coins. So bullion is what that is known as, and
Okay.
then what we have in front of us is collectibles.
Okay.
So these coins are more polished and kind of put in nice cases. They carry a bit more of a price than the actual bullion. At you don't exactly get it at the spot price. So, for example, these are mostly looked out for by people that not only looking at investment but also into collecting. So as a hobby in a sense as well. So
Sheesh, how much does this
yeah.
hobby cost?
It depends on your appetite, really.
Okay. So
Because
what's
it
the
can
lowest
range.
somebody would like buy a
Mm.
collectible for?
Um,
So technically, like in this box per se,
Okay.
it's like a set of five,
Yeah.
and there is a 50th. So like they come in fractions. So
Okay.
you get a 1 ounce, a half ounce, quarter, tenth, 20, and then 50th.
Okay.
So technically, a 50th would be a 50th of the spot price, except because it's a proof coin, there's a bit more value into it, so it'll be slightly above that.
Yeah.
But I think that comes around to maybe 900 and something rand
Okay.
for a 50th.
A 50th. Okay. Take me through the math of it, because what I'm also interested in kind of talking about is the fact that, I mean, I saw on your website there are coins for like 13,000 rand or
Yeah.
20, some even go to like 50. They get really high, obviously depending on your appetite and your finances as well. Is there a circulated promise that says if you buy it for, let's say, 13,000 this year, in 5 years it would be worth 50,000 rand? Like, what's the math that makes sense from an investment point of view?
So I think also to tie it a bit to the question about the influence on
Yes.
gold, I think just as a resource, technically it's supply and demand, so to speak. So there are certain people who have gold naturally as deposits. We happen to have quite a lot of it here,
Okay.
which is why our mining industry is
Booming.
where it is here. So there's like the fact of how much gold there is in the market, and then how much is also being sold, so to speak. But then it's also influenced because it's a currency in a sense. It's also influenced by lots of world events and obviously,
geopolitical
yeah.
tensions,
So when the
tension.
rand drops, the value of the gold drops. Is that how it works?
Not necessarily.
Yes.
Interesting.
But as people get less trusting in their like dollars, especially, I'll say that if like there's a lot of tension and then people don't have much faith in the United States dollar, then they might want to keep a bit of their money in cash. I know cash is never, it's sometimes considered not safe, but then
Yeah.
gold is a good form of cash. So you can store your gold in an easy way you can move around with and not be tied to your country's currency in a sense.
Oh,
But then you have like this international
Yeah.
currency.
So meaning also, sorry to cut you, when you're maybe like you said, that coin is worth 47,000 or so. So you have 47,000 today. You buy a gold coin, and then the rand falls dramatically tomorrow. So then you like the value of your actual money is stored in the gold. So if you're in a different country, you still get that value that you kind of bought it for, if that makes sense. So
So it's more tied to the dollar than it is to the rand in terms of like its inflation and the value of it. No.
also not necessarily.
It's just that I
That
think
is so interesting.
from a South African perspective,
Yeah.
it would always like it's good to then look at it as the dollar because
Okay.
Then if you do buy it today for 47,000 rand, and
Yeah.
then tomorrow it goes down, then you'll think about it as like I can get still $2,600, which would just be a lot more
Rand.
rands. Yeah.
Oh,
But it's not
okay.
necessarily tied to the currencies
It's
because it's also never gone down significantly. Like
Yeah.
that 6,000% rise. It's
Yeah.
not something, it doesn't go
Yeah.
down.
I mean, I'm also thinking around how this is such a great investment. I have a 1 year old and we had like such a cute, fancy schmancy 1 year birthday for her. And I think to myself, and when I came to launch, I thought to myself, if we had maybe bought just one coin for her and just put it in a safe, kept it for, and she can have it like at 18, it would have so much value by the time that she'd be able to do something with money, with the money. So I'm curious now. I mean, we're getting into bonus season and the festive, and this is something my husband and I have been talking about in terms of like this whole, because we were like very intrigued
Yep.
into this conversation. What is the process of purchasing a gold coin, keeping whatever low maintenance they are there, and when do I decide to sell it? Like, is there a matrix that says it's good to keep it for 5, it's good to keep it for 10, it's good to keep it for 1,000 years, and
Yeah.
then sell it later?
Okay. I'd say that's mainly based on what your goals are
Yeah.
for getting the gold in the first place. So typically, let's say someone is trying to save up for a car, um, or a house, whatever the case may be. So you have a specific timeline that you think I want to buy a house in 5, 10 years or so forth. So you want to store your money in a way that it also kind of grows in value as well. So
Okay.
when it's in the gold, you know that the price of gold is steady. In most cases, it actually increases over the years. So you beat inflation, and rather than leaving your money in cash under your mattress, then 20,000 today is not what 20,000 is going to be next year.
Yeah.
This time. So it's a question of measuring your goals, and what it is that you when you actually want to use this advantage that you have. So that kind of ties back to what do you buy, when do you buy it, and
Yeah.
when do you sell it. So the buying, that's pretty simple. It's a thing of you because we trade completely online.
Okay.
So you sign up on the website, go through the whole purchasing, add your thing to the card, decide what it is, pay, and then you get your delivery option that you wanted to deliver to your house, or you want to store it in a safety deposit box, which we've partnered with companies that are very good in that industry, and they have
Yeah.
the facilities for that. So that's the option. And then when it comes to selling, another part of our website is we have an sort of like an online forum marketplace called the Golden Circle Network, where people are able to engage with each other on different topics, and tracking where the gold is going. And also it acts as a marketplace where, let's say you would want to sell your 5 set piece, and you kind of want to cash in on it at the moment, and then someone can make you an offer on it, and so forth. So we want to build that platform to kind of make it accessible and easier for people to kind of offload whatever coins they might have at the moment. And also, um, with any other coins, if you go to the to SA Mint, they will buy your coin. It's sort of
Oh,
like a
interesting.
guarantee of buying gold that is minted by them.
Yeah.
So you can go to the mint, and then they buy the coin back from you.
Because I was
If
going to
you-
ask you, once I've bought it, who do I sell it to? Do I go to jewelry stores? Like,
Yeah.
where do I actually go to sell it in the next 5 or 10 years?
Yeah.
Surprisingly, there's a lot of people who always want your gold,
Yeah.
and
Really? A
lot of
sometimes who will undersell you just because you might be unaware of what you can do and what you can get. So we're hoping with something like the Golden Circle Network, you can be very specific. Like if with this coin it's from 2020, if I'm building a collection and I've got every year except for this, through that Golden Circle Network, I can kind of just let it be known that I'm looking for this coin. Then
Yeah.
it's actually much easier to facilitate
Yeah.
a marketplace between people and
Yeah.
know exactly who to sell to. But there'll always be someone who will buy your gold.
That's very interesting. One of my favorite movies is John Wick. And one of the things that I saw they would do in the movies, like transact with gold wherever he would go. I never had
Yeah.
gold, but it was coins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wherever they'd go to a place and
This
he needed a
hotel, yeah.
favor, he
Actually
would.
forgot about that.
Yeah, and he would actually give them like a gold coin.
Yeah.
And I think only now that I found out about you guys, I'm like, it makes sense. They were tied to a specific value. It wasn't just an alliance. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this is where we are. My second last question to each of you is: what has been your biggest lesson in business?
It's as hard as people say it is, and anyone who says it's not difficult, I don't know. I'm not sure what they're trying to tell you, but it's tough. But you just need to work and find strong people behind you.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest lesson.
yeah, shucks.
Yeah. I think for me, it's two ways. First thing is perseverance. You know, when it feels like the end, probably you should keep going. You know, if you keep pushing, things usually turn out pretty okay.
Yeah,
And then the other thing is, whenever you're negotiating anything, it's only a good deal when both people are pissed off. That's what I've learned.
what?
Yep.
Wait, take me through that. What
Yep.
does that mean?
It's only a good deal if both parties are not happy with what happened.
Okay.
You know, so if it's not a good deal if I walk away from the table and I'm satisfied, but you didn't have
Yes.
you don't have the best deal,
Yeah.
and vice versa. And if it's almost impossible that we're both going to be happy.
Yeah.
So
So it
as
means we
long as-
both gave something to
Yeah.
the table.
to gain something.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I learned that from a couple of movies and
Yeah.
books, and then put it into practice, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. You mentioned books. What books would you recommend people who want to start businesses to start reading?
If you have any
Um,
books.
I would say start with, because let me start here. I think you should start with The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Okay.
Mainly because I feel like whether it's business or it's anything, you're dealing with people. You're not dealing with buildings, and you deal with people.
Yeah.
So you need to learn how to deal with people. So it's a good book. It's not a book you read and then you finish. It's a working book. You always go back
Come
and
back to
refer,
it.
and then it teaches you a lot about yourself, and how to deal with certain situations.
Yeah.
I'd say start there, and then we'll circle back to everything else.
To everything else
Yeah.
later. Okay, cool. So if you were to leave a message to both of you 5 years from now, what would you say?
To myself in 5 years.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
Okay. What do I say?
I'd tell myself not to be comfortable if things are going the way I'd hope that they will be. Not to be comfortable and to keep exploring new business, something else, just to keep moving forward.
Yeah, it's actually a good one. It's like, don't forget.
Don't forget where we are right now.
Because you might be eating nice in 5 years.
Got
Forgot
me,
the
man.
struggle.
But always remember,
Just a reminder, hey.
just keep, yeah.
Yeah.
60 is not far away.
Okay.
That's always my benchmark for a lot of things in my life.
Yeah.
I'm gonna retire one day,
Yeah.
and I kind of have an amount in mind,
Mhm.
so I'm always working towards that.
Yeah.
So I must
Shucks.
always remember that.
Interesting.
Sure. What would I say to myself in 5 years?
Mm.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough
I-
question.
I think I'd say continua. You know, keep
keep going.
fighting the fight. Yeah,
Yeah.
more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shucks.
And I hope I hope you got
It's
what we're
going.
working for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. How much is this coin that I'm holding worth?
Today I checked just before we got here.
Mhm.
I think the spot price is about 47, 48. Yeah.
About 47,000 Rand
Yeah.
to purchase.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
And interesting fact is,
Mhm.
10 years ago,
Mhm.
if you had to buy it, you're probably gonna pay 14,000 rands.
So you'd have bought it for 14,000 Rand 10 years ago, and you would sell it today for
40 something.
48,000 Rand, 47,000 Rand.
The beginning of the year, it was 25% less. So
Wow.
yeah,
Shows you the growth in the gold price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does gold obviously does drop like any other currency?
Well, it 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 really drops.
Is it? Okay.
Like, it happens, but it really drops. Unlike, like a stock or
Yes.
yeah. I just, if people could just pay attention to that number that you always see at the bottom,
Yes.
or when you Google it, just always look at what it does, and just looking at how things are going in the world at the moment. There's a lot of global tension,
Yeah.
and I guess half the things we don't really understand, and what it actually means. But you're just noticing, when you look at things, you're noticing this big, I call it the gold rush. Like,
Okay.
people are buying gold in stockpiles.
Wow.
Because it's that uncertainty of, certain currencies, and understanding where you want to go and what you want to do. So, mm, like you said, when you think about the fact that we're going into, bonus season now, we're all gonna do what we're gonna do, but then just keep it in mind. What
Yeah.
what do you actually want this money to do for you? You know.
We also have silver.
Oh, yeah.
Also, gold isn't the craziest. I know 47,000 rand might sound like
A
I'm
lot
not
of
even
money.
gonna make.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, could be around 1,000
Yeah.
something.
Okay.
Silver also went up one, two, yeah.
Mm.
It went up, I think, 17% in the past few months. So
Yeah.
investing can start anywhere. There's a lot
That's
of
a good
coins.
point. You don't actually need 47,000 rand. You can
Exactly.
start with 1,000 rand with hopes that it accumulates its value within the couple of years to
Yeah.
resell or whatever the case is. Interesting. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the Resonate podcast. This was very educational.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you for
very
having
much.
us.
Thanks for having us. So it's
Very,
really
very
nice.
interesting.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thanks a
coming.
lot.
Resonate community, in my hand is a gold coin that is worth 47,000 rand. That from this episode, what I've learned is that you can literally invest in this. Okay. It's literally the price of an iPhone 16 Pro Max with an Apple Watch that you're about to buy cash this festive season. But I really hope that one of the biggest things that you might have taken away from this episode is really realizing that there's so many avenues you can pour your money towards. We talk a lot about starting side hustles, starting businesses, but sometimes we really don't know what to do when the money comes in. We really don't know after Black Friday, after the festive, and all the money we've got in our hands, what do we do with them? And smart people know how to move their money. And maybe this is one of the ways that you guys can actually allocate your money towards. We are going to be leaving their website to SA Gold Markets in the link below, where you guys can just go have a look and see, get in touch with them, see if this is something you'd be interested in. But from what we have seen, it really does sound and seems like an amazing investment. So thank you so much for listening, watching, wherever you're listening or watching this episode from. We love you guys so much, and we'll see you guys on our next episode. Goodbye.